Hi investors, welcome to SOIC. So in today's session, we'll be doing a complete walkthrough with Tijori Finance, and we have Varun and the co-founder of Tijori Finance. So we'll just do a complete walkthrough. So you guys can start basically.
Sure.
Right.
Sure. So, before we start about Tijori and the markets in general,
Right.
maybe it'll take 1 minute to just talk about, like, supposing you want to buy forget about stocks for now. Supposing you want to buy a phone or a TV, there are thousands of phones out there. From those, you need to reduce the 1,000 to 1020 into your radar. Okay. Once you have 10 phones in your radar, you research more. You zero in on that one phone. By research, I mean maybe you check out its features, you compare with other phones, you ask that one friend who knows a lot about phones and who's an expert in all this or whatever. So from the 1,000, you reduce the number of phones in your radar to 10 or 15. The 10 or 15 you really research into. Once you've zeroed in on that one phone, you say, okay, I want to buy this phone. Right. So once you've decided to buy this phone, you then need to figure out, should I buy it on Flipkart? Should I buy it on my neighborhood store or whatever? So you actually go and buy it. You go and transact it. And once you transact it and you have the phone in your hand, after 6 months, you're again, kind of figuring out, after a year or whatever, you're figuring out, okay, what are the phones out there? Oh, these are the new features in today's phones and stuff like that. Okay, so
Right.
the zeroing in from the 1,000 to the 1020 phones in your radar is what we call discovery. Okay, you need to kind of filter down from the thousands out there to the 1020 that are useful to you. After you have these in your radar, after you discover these 1020, you need to do more research into them.
Right.
Okay, and after you do more research of these 10-15 phones, you've zeroed down into the one that you really like, you need to actually go buy it, or you need to go transact it. Okay, and once you've transacted them, you and have it in your hand after 6 months or 1 year, you're tracking it, figuring out what else is there in the market. You're in that tracking phase. Okay,
Right.
this applies to phones, this applies to TVs, washing machine, whatnot. We think this applies to all financial products as well.
Right.
Okay, so if you take stocks, there are 2,000, 3,000 buyable stocks out there. You need to zero down into your watch list of the 10, 15 or 20 you think are worth your time into really researching into. Okay, so the zeroing in from the thousands to the 1020 is what we call the discovery phase. Once you've crossed the discovery phase, you go to the research phase.
Right.
Once you're past the research phase and you zero down to the one stock that you want to buy, you're on the transaction or execution phase. And after that, you're on the tracking phase. Okay.
Right.
So we think of these as 4 boxes: discovery, research, transaction, and tracking.
So
The third box of transaction is where people like Zerodha and all these platforms are into, which Tijori is really not into.
Right.
Okay.
so yeah, so like basically we just everything we do and every feature we add on the product aligns to one of these 4 boxes. Right. So that's what you'll start seeing in our application, and we'll walk you through those aspects.
Yeah. So what we have how we've designed the product is, we don't just think of a feature and just be like, okay, where do we stick this onto Tijori? We want to go through the flow of a person trying to buy a company, buy shares in a company, see where a feature fits into this flow of these boxes that we think are applicable. And once we think, okay, it fits into this flow and it makes sense, then that's when we start building and making.
Right.
Right.
So, I'm just taking these 2-3 minutes to tell you this background so that when we explain how we build things, you'll see where it fits.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I mean, I guess another small thing you need to be aware of when we start this exercise is like what differentiates us is generally when you look at research platforms, data available focuses on the financial domain. That means the share price, the financial statements, the P&L statements, the shareholding information, right?
Right.
So this is largely available from the stock exchange, and even we are one of the companies which buy this data from the stock exchange and make it available for you. But what we realized initially is there's a lot of unstructured information also available. So very
Right.
critical information present in documents like annual reports, investor presentation, company filings, and all that. And because this is like in a sort of haphazard manner, one PDF here, one document here, it's difficult to collate and tabulate this information. Right.
Right.
So early on, we noticed that many people they have a superficial knowledge of the business of the company, but a great knowledge of the financials.
Yeah.
So essentially what we tried to do, and I mean, we have a long way to go, is try and bridge this gap. So get as much sort of business information and what we call unstructured information also on the platform, as well as the financial data.
So what we call unstructured, the sources are, of course, there's row and table type of data and P&L statement, balance sheet, cash flow, shareholding, and ratios and whatnot, which anyone can just go by. It's quite commoditized. What our plan is and is that you also have really useful information in IPs, in earning releases, in industry bodies, like if you're studying banking, then the RBI database or the SAM database for auto, or many pharma databases, the XM databases. These are all data points out there which are relevant but are scattered all over the place. We wanted to, first of all, get them in one place, normalize them, and put it in a coherent form so people can consume them like fast and in context.
Right.
Okay. So I think I'll just start with like a walkthrough.
And just a question before we start. What is the sources of the financials? Which database are we using?
Right.
So it's ACE Equity.
ACE Equity. Okay.
Yeah. So we get our financials from there, and all other data. It's like it could be from the company's annual report, investor presentation. So this is what we deem as reliable data. So according to us, reliable data only comes from that company's body, right? So they are telling us this, then we put it on the application and tag a source. Alternatively, we have what we say is trustable industry bodies. Like it could be RBI, it could be AIOCD, it could be XIM, things like that. So those are our other sources of data. So, but we never rely on newspapers or a blog or things like that, because those are things we cannot defend.
And we've seen that there's too much conflicting info out there, like within the same publication, 5 days apart, there's conflicting.
I mean, it's not just about blogs. Like even if you look at two companies' annual reports and you pick it up, they'll be talking about different, through different lens, they'll be talking about the same data.
Like in 2019, what they said about 2018 will be different when if you go to 2020 and see what they said about. These are big headaches which people don't realize when they read just one and which is what we wanted to clean up.
Yeah.
Right. So a difference has to be there between opinions and facts. So something like ITC, there are like hundreds of people have hundreds of opinion about ITC.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this becomes a big pain for us. Like, how do we figure out which is end of the day, we say we are not in that opinion game because we do not think we're qualified enough for that. And we don't even believe that anyone is actually qualified enough to give those opinions. But we stick to facts, and facts we will say is the latest company filing saying this. So even if there's a conflict from a company, we'll put the latest one out because that's the best we can do from our part.
Right.
Okay. So, I mean, just again for 5 seconds to sum up, I said there are 4 boxes: discovery, which you need to jump through one after the other. Discovery, research, transaction, and tracking. The third box, which is transaction, is where the big brokers are playing, and that's something we're really not into. So that leaves us with 3 boxes: discovery, research, and tracking. So how, and I said that how we built the whole system is that you go through this flow and everything makes sense in this coherent flow. Okay. So I mean, the first box, discovery. So what the discovery problem is that you have sorry, maybe I should be more careful. So you have a button on the top right called filter.
Right.
And when you click it, what the discovery problem is of course there are 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 companies out there. You need to figure out the top 10, 15 you want to invest into or do research into. So one way people usually do this now is that they say, oh, I like companies with 5-year average ROC greater than 20%, and I want small and mid cap, so maybe, and market cap less than 20,000 and stuff like that. Which works and is useful, but it's quantitative info. But we think that what's more relevant is that people think in ideas. So you first think that like how we've spoken about, a few minutes back, that people say, I think chemical companies will do well. And I think niche chemical companies will do well. Of course, I need parameters like ROC and stuff. But I mean, I first started the idea. What's out there right now and what we didn't like, because even we invest quite a bit is that systems out there right now force us to think in terms of financial data, and then we have to do the hard work of going and figuring out the qualitative stuff. So I'll just tell you what I mean. So I'm supposing you have an idea that you think chemical companies will do well, and especially niche chemical companies will do well. You can't really get that info in 1 second everywhere. So if I just type revenue from, you can see me typing, no?
Right. And market share more than 40%. Okay.
So supposing you actually wanted to know, I want chemical companies who are niche. Imagine everyone that you would have to go through and how many annual reports you'll have to go into or how many blogs you'll have to read. What we've done is gone to all these data sources and structured them all in one place. So you see the search results here, give you the exact company name, how much they make from chemicals, and they have market share in what. So Balaji Amine, Tata Chemicals, Kalpana, Nosil, IG Petrochem or whatnot, Vinati Organics. So that's the first step where we help. You first filter on business data or qualitative data. And then of course you can do the standard stuff of saying, and I want 5-year average ROC greater than, I don't know, I'm just making up, but you can do whatever you want.
So essentially how we've designed it is those two areas in which you can query. First area is the data. I mean, basically any business information or any thought in terms of a financial angle. So I want to understand market share or revenue from some things like that.
Yeah.
And here is the pure financial metric. So any sort of P&L related query or ratio related query can put in the second box. So Mohit, any questions?
I think this is a very interesting thing because one needs to know how to filter down the universe. Because there are so many ideas, there are more than 5,000 listed stocks. So we need to make a portfolio of 15 to 20 companies, right? So filtering down the universe is the first step in fundamental stock picking in our view as well. So I think this could be a very, very useful feature.
Certainly.
Exactly. Like if you were to actually go about it the regular way of doing it, just first on ROC and then trying to break your head. For example, here you see there are 20 results. If you just go the regular way, I'm sure you will get, I don't know how many hundreds of results, and then you have to sit and figure out, okay, what makes sense and what doesn't. Like, more than 1,000 results. Right. So that's kind of the first way that we want to help, and how we are kind of bringing our our IP into play, where we help you filter. We help you filter companies or discover companies based on first your ideas, and then you force fit the financial data on top of it.
So, I mean, we'll open up for questions from you. But before that, I mean, how we get this information is like I mentioned earlier. We scrape out annual reports, investor presentations, industry bodies, and we structure them in our database. So we know companies which get revenue from USA or companies which get revenue from China. We know who uses raw materials, vinyl acetate monomer or any raw material, right? So these are sort of unstructured data which we put in these rows and columns, and then which help you query that information.
Yeah.
Really interesting. I think something which every potential beginning investor or someone who's also at an advanced level would appreciate this feature, because I think one of the things जो हम लोग देखते हैं SOIC में कि actually हम लोगों ने list create करी है कि companies which are world market leaders or Indian market leaders. So this will just simplify the job further.
Yeah, certainly. So you can actually put that query and say companies with global market share. So at a click of a button, you would know exactly who's got a market share at a global scale, right? So otherwise at the surface, how can you even ask for this question? So let's ignore. Vinati has in IBV. Then we've got Deepak Nitrite in each of these things. So so Motherson Sumi has Rearview Mirror market share. So we've even mentioned this data over here, right? In exactly which area?
I mean, just a heads up. So here there are 21 results found for global market share. Our thing is very precise, but there might be 40 companies. We won't be sure with 99.9% accuracy that the other 20 companies have global market share.
Yeah.
So we've left them out. We've gone down the path of being more safe with our search results rather than just putting out
Complete, yeah.
everything.
So completeness for us may not be great, but accuracy is great. If we are saying that Laurus Lab has some market share or Deepak Nitrite has, we can take you to that filing to say where this company is stating that they have global market share, for example. Right? So this becomes a very, very useful filter. So, I mean, just as another example, someone, even as a discovery method, you may read in the paper that vinyl acetate monomer is shooting up. Now, who even knows who uses vinyl acetate monomer, right? So you can come and put in these queries over here to see which companies have exposure to vinyl acetate monomer. And then that also becomes a filter if you are that type of an investor.
Interesting.
Okay, cool. Then we'll move on from here.
You have any questions?
No, I think more or less this feature, like we understand that how one can use like कैसे use कर सकते हैं different companies filter करने के लिए with very high market shares. Right.
Market share or geography.
Just a question. So suppose Vinity Organics has more than 55 to 60% market share in ATPS. So what would be the source of that data if we can get that?
So basically you can run that filter. So if you just see over here, we can say companies. Right. So now in every filter query, we give you the list of companies. Yeah, you can go to Vinati's Organics page. Now this moves into our research aspect. And immediately over here, the first one says 65% global market share, right? So under that, you can just click on the source.
There's a source button here, which I think you can see. You click the source. And it takes you to the exact document and the exact page where we got it. So we scroll down, here it is.
This is from the annual report, right?
From the annual
report. Right.
2019 annual report. Okay, so essentially what we do is, the thing is all this data, because we've pulled it out in an unstructured manner, what we're trying to say is we've identified some data point for you. We'll take you to that source of information. You read about that paragraph and get more of a context, and
you go deeper from there.
And we are just giving you the tools to get to that position.
Right.
Okay.
Extremely interesting.
Right. So wherever possible, we've tagged sources. There are some elements where we've not tagged sources, which we will plug in soon.
Okay. So again, like we were talking about discovery, and we said, okay, we need to filter from the 2,000-3,000 companies to the 20. And we did that just now by saying, okay, show me companies with global market share or whatever. And then we can further filter down, of course, after that into I want companies with ROC more than 20%. And we'd have gone from the 3,000 companies to maybe 5 companies in a matter of 2 minutes. Okay. And you can imagine that if you actually wanted to go search for niche chemical companies with global market share, how long it might have taken you, if you didn't have a tool at your disposal. And we think this is a very good discovery mechanism. The second thing that we've built, which I'm finding hard to click on. Okay. There's a market screen on the top right. I'm not sure if you saw me click on it.
Yeah.
So it's on the home page.
It's on the home page. What the market screen is like right now, if you want to see what is moving in the markets, not just today, but over the last 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, we have what everyone has at their disposal. And if you want a quick summary, are the indexes. You have the headline indexes, or you can go to the sector indexes. You can say, oh, CNX Pharma is up, X% over the last 1 year, or the Bank Nifty is down X% over the last 2 years. That's the level of granularity that everyone has. But me and Siddharth personally also, and many people we've noticed, we don't really see the market at such a high 20,000 feet view. We want a more granular view at what's moving in the markets. So what we've always built for our internal use is our own indexes. So let me just give you an example. In chemicals, first of all, I don't think there's a chemical index, but supposing there was a Nifty chemical index, you just saying chemicals has gone up over the last 6 months is not going to be of much use to anyone. So if you can see here, we have under chemicals, we have an agrochemical index, we have an alkali chemical index, dye and pigment index, polymer index, and specialty chemical index. So you can see over the last 6 months, it's the alkali chemical companies that have gone up the most.
Right.
Okay. Or over the last 4 years, maybe my timestamp row is hidden because of the video,
you
but
can see it.
okay, you can see, then it's great. But if you can see over the last 4 years, alkali chemicals have done the worst, and it's the specialty chemicals and polymers that have done really well. Okay, it's just another level of granularity. And of course, you can click on this and see, okay, in alkali chemicals, these are the companies in this index, and it's Tata Chemicals, which is moving the index.
Right.
Or in dyes and pigments, these are all the companies in that index. And,
So,
I mean, for example, with the specialty food, maybe you never heard of the company. I haven't. I think it's a food chemical company. Yeah. So you can quickly see that, okay, this is the company that's whose share price is up today or whatever. It's another discovery mechanism, basically.
So,
right.
Yeah. So basically, yeah, this is purely a discovery mechanism. And the thing is, like, until now, you had to either put a filter query. This is a screen where you can come and just track it on a daily basis, see who's moving up, down, query, I mean, go more granular into exactly which companies, and then go into their pages.
Yeah. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, you have any questions?
Right. So basically what I was thinking of is so there are two ways to interpret this information for like all the SOIC students and the potential investors. First is कि अगर long term में कोई sector काफी ऊपर जा रहा है, like what we saw in the chemical sector, like the one sector has given 20% CAGR.
Right.
So this also gives you a hint that something or the other is changing in the industry itself. So that should become the first point of research for you to look into more companies over there.
Absolutely.
And moreover, once we can open the index as well, so index खोलने के बाद we get the different players. So we can also pick which player is the most which player would be the most resourceful or which player would be the most efficient, right?
Right.
So I think प्राइवेट बैंक्स में भी ये देख सकते हैं कि प्राइवेट बैंक्स में इतना ज्यादा सेक्टर ऊपर नहीं गया, बट प्राइवेट बैंक्स के अंदर कुछ 4-5 प्लेयर्स ऐसे मिल जाएंगे यहाँ से जो काफी ऊपर जा रहे काफी टाइम से. तो I think extremely interesting this feature.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, just a last point. I'm sure many of you all are interested in pharma. So of course we have the pharma index, but you can see that pharma is doing well. But to Mohit's point just now, if long term some in sub index is doing well, it points to something. And you can see in the last 4 years, the API and CRAMS index is the one that has done the best.
Right.
And of course you can click plus here and see in this which one: Divi's Labs, Granules, Neuland. Okay, not Neuland as much. Loris, sorry. These are the companies that have done really well. So, it's just another way for you to discover indexes or companies that are doing well. One I discovered recently was the City Gas Index. I had no idea it's done this well.
Extremely interesting, because even I didn't have an idea about City Gas.
Yeah, and as you see a 1 year performance, I saw another index the other day.
Plywood.
QSR index, okay, I guess some people knew that.
Right.
But my dad discovered Plywood the other day. It's done, which was the company Arctic Ply. He was like, why is it moving so much? And it's a 100 crore company. So it's just another way for you to figure out, like you're saying, even you didn't know about the City Gas Index. You can click plus, see what's moving.
Right.
The data gets updated every 15 minutes. So if you just want to get a sense of what's moving, which clusters are moving, maybe it makes more sense to look at a little more granularly than just, okay, Nifty is up or Sensex is down or whatever.
Right.
Do you have any questions?
I think that is a pretty valid point, because at the end, not all the sectors will do well. So we have to position ourselves for 3 to 4 sectors which are the most efficient ones. This can be a very good starting point for investors.
Right.
Yeah. Let me just quit one thing and so that.
No worries.
Yeah. Okay. So this wraps up our sort of discovery mechanism. So you can discover using our filter, or you can discover using that market screen where you can keep tracking which indices are moving up or down. Now let's move into the next phase, which is our research phase. Okay, assuming using that filter or using the markets or even a newspaper for that matter, or through some conversation with some friends or whatever, you discover a company. What we've built is certain screens to help you go through that. Okay, so I'll just start with an example like Airtel, a company. Yeah. Okay, so here you can just come to our homepage and type for any company or sector. When you come to Airtel, what we focus on, like what we mentioned earlier, was you get two types of information, right? So one is the financial data, which is the P&L statements, etc., and two is the business information. What we're trying to push forward to everyone is first have a look at the business information, understand where the company stands in certain parameters, and then move towards financials. Okay. So the first thing we track is the market share. Of course, this varies from company to company. Some companies we do get it, some companies we do not. So wherever we get our hands on this data, we let you know the market share. In time, we will be building trend lines here as well, because we've been tracking this data for the last 3 years. So quarter and quarter, or sometimes this is only annually updated data.
This is month.
Yeah, monthly data. We will give
Trend
you that
lines for the market share.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Oh,
You'll be able
interesting.
to see that
Very
the market
interesting.
share goes up or down, because just a standalone data point sometimes does not mean much, right? So relative to last quarter or last year is what we want to try and show you. So I'll show you more on this in some time. Two is we're just giving you an overview of where the company generates its major sources of revenue. Okay, so what business verticals it is in Airtel. It's a known business, so it's in the mobile space, but they get 10% from towers, etc. And three is where they're getting, which geographies they get their revenue from. So these are some sort of unstructured data which we pull from annual reports, IPs. This becomes useful when first time you hear of a company, you get that quick overview, right? Again, we're going to be building trend lines here. So quarter on quarter, you'll be able to see that the revenue exposure to Africa or India is increasing, decreasing, or revenue from a particular vertical is increasing or decreasing.
Right. I think ये feature तो Excel का काम काफी कम कर देगा, because something you look at कि what is the trend in the market share of the business, or in terms of किस market में ज़्यादा operate करे, whether Africa or India. So could be very, very interesting, this one.
Yeah. And like we showed last time, like everything we try and tag sources to. So you click on the source, you will go into that company filing so you can read deeper. And we take you to that exact page number so that, okay, this is some page in Airtel. So that you can, yeah, that's right. So you can get more information there.
Okay.
The next aspect is our operational metrics. Okay. So this is something we've really spent time building on. What the way we try and see is, like, if you were the CEO of the company, or if you were in charge of these companies, what are the key metrics that you, as the head of that company or business manager of that company, would be tracking, right? These vary from sector to sector, and we've tried to define it here. So for instance, you will know in the case of Airtel, probably one of the most important things is what is the ARP, or average revenue per user, right? Second, maybe how many subscribers they have. So what we've done is built these graphs. So over the last 3 years, you can see, okay, Airtel's trend is increasing. Each of these graphs are plottable. Okay, so you just click them and you'll be able to see in scale exactly how it is. Two is, based on the data we generate, we're able to prompt their closest peers. So in Airtel's case, this is Vodafone and Reliance. You can just click this and immediately compare against all three of them. So now you're able to see, like, almost real time, how Reliance has been growing and continues to grow.
Right. I think Warren Buffett used to say that one needs to know the key variables of a business.
Right.
So again, this just tells you what the key variables of a business are and which one an investor needs to track.
Exactly. So the thing is, how we came up with these metrics is, initially we had a framework to say that for mobile we need this. But I think our user base has been fantastic. So like every other day we get an email saying that, why don't you track this also for this company, because it's so important. So we've just been building on top of that, and this is where we are. And there's still a bunch of metrics which people have sent us we've not yet been able to address, that we will build over time. So the overall idea is, you come here to get a quick overview of a company. Two, I understand I like Airtel and I wish to invest in Airtel. This should be the place for you to constantly track those key metrics. Right? So like when Varun and me used to look at it, like we used to open files, open documents, always look at this number, put it back in our Excel file. So yeah, so this is,
extremely interesting. So this reminds me, though, I also used to do this. So while reading or comparing a sector, So this used to take a lot of time, like 3 or 4 hours in the previous place where I was working at.
Right.
So we had to compile such a file for at least 50, 60 companies.
Exactly. Yeah.
It was a little tedious as well.
Right. So,
Just,
yeah, go
but
ahead. Go ahead.
but at the end, when the data is there and it is in front of you in the form of a graph, I think potentially very, very interesting, because just saves you a lot of time, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Certainly. So, I mean, I can just take another example before we move on from this page. See, I can't see which one. Oops.
Let's put Space Bank.
Yeah. Sorry, I just need to move this. Yeah. On. Okay. Anyway, that's still all right. So I've gone to HDFC Asset Management Company. The metrics for an AMC is also going to be completely different. So here you will be able to see their AUM, percentage of AUM and equity funds. So it will vary from company to company. And so in the case of, okay, so Bank of Baroda has some AMCs. So you can click
Add
here
whoever, add IC.
and you can add
You can
whichever
type
one.
whoever you want. Like you want
I think we
ICICI.
can we can add that one. जो भी recently listed, the Anil Ambani's company, which was sold of Reliance Nippon, I think.
Nippon. Yeah.
Nippon Life, so it was sold.
Yeah. So you can add whoever you want. I mean,
Right.
So,
sure.
so what we've done is, I mean,
Or SBI. I mean, whoever. So I guess SBI is the biggest. That's why I added it. But yeah.
Right.
okay.
So, acha, one question over here, even in this data which you just showed us, so SBI is actually a consolidated company that is listed.
Yeah.
उसमें से जो उनकी सब्सिडियरी है म्यूचुअल फंड की, उसका जो AUM है वो यहाँ पे रिफ्लेक्ट हो रहा है बेसिकली, राइट?
Yes. So that's what we meant, that it's not as simple as just opening an annual report and that we are collating data from a lot of sources. This we have to go to AMFI and cross verify with SEBI that it's correct. So we've also scraped out industry bodies, of which one is AMFI.
Very, very interesting, because again, it saves a lot of time.
Yeah. So for asset management, one body is AMFI. We can go to for brokers, you have to go to the NSE website if you want to invest in ICICI securities. We've indexed even that website. I mean, there are 50, 60 websites out there. Like if you want Pulse's ka price, that's another website. So it's like a huge data collection job.
I mean, let me show HDFC on here so that we can. Okay, so we look at HDFC. I mean, just as a final example, we first look at their market share, then realize that they've got banking, and then they've got. Yeah. Okay, sure. Again, you take all the key banking metrics, compare against any peer you want. So you click on the banking thing, any company you type here, any listed bank, we've extracted the data.
Right.
Now, we were mentioning financial statements. Financial statements are also here on our side. You have the 10-year financials available. So that's the balance sheet P&L. So we've got a detailed view. You can just press that so you can start drilling down further. Everything on our site is plottable because sometimes we feel it just makes sense to look in graphs. You can plot any company, and at least in the financials, you can compare any company versus any other sector also. In some cases that makes sense, but in most cases you'll be comparing peers and you'll be able to see these things, right? So I mean, one element which we are working on right now is today this is the balance sheet which we have defined for people to see. We are trying to work towards customizability. So that means you can come here and say that, okay, in my balance sheet, I just want to see A, B, C, D, E line items in this order. We'll try and make that available for you, right?
Okay.
Because sometimes like moving from one application, everyone's used to their Excel file or whatever format they have. And anything new you see suddenly looks like an alien kind of format, right? So we'll try and sort that out soon. Yeah. You can just show benchmarking.
Yeah. So financials, it's commoditized data, and we've presented maybe in a more detailed way, but it's available everywhere. One thing where we think it's differentiated in our financial data, supposing you want to compare HDFC versus Kotak versus ICICI, you would of course compare the financial stuff which you can do in our benchmarking page and compare everyone's NIMs or the NPAs or the CASA ratio of HDFC, ICICI, Kotak, or add any company. You can get in one page, which is useful. I mean, it saves us a lot of time and they have to sit and do this in Excel.
Right.
But you can also
Just hit refresh.
you can also, I'm not sure, I think the screen sharing is kind of, sorry, I'm just going to refresh the page.
No
You can
worries.
also basically compare the businesses of these companies. So if I ask you, okay, HDFC versus Kotak versus ICICI, but how much of each comes from consumer finance, how much comes from wholesale banking, that would take you even more time to sit and compare. So that's what we've done programmatically. So if you see HDFC gets 46 from consumer finance, ICICI gets only 28, Kotak gets only 28. So here itself you can see differences between the banks.
Right.
Okay, one bank we noticed, I mean, I'm sure many people know it, but we don't follow banks that much, was Bandhan Bank. It just popped up the other day for us. It gets about 80% or something from consumer finance.
Microfinance, basically, right?
Yeah. So basically, I'm just getting, I don't know too much about banks, but it's just an example that we not just comparing financial data or operational metric data, you can also compare business data. So you can see how much each one makes from India. For banks, it will be more or less the same. The loan breakup of each one, so you can have it in one place. Borrowing breakup, so what is the source of incremental funding for all these banks? How much each bank is giving to priority versus non-priority sector?
Right.
And stuff like that. So you can compare not just the financial data, but even the business data. Right.
P2P analysis, right? P2P analysis is also very interesting in a sector like banking and finance, or in a sector like amines, where you can just purely compare alkyl amines with Balaji amines, and you can also look at the operational metrics. So, right. So in the financials, one feature which I personally use a lot is the DuPont, or the breakup of ROC and ROIC. So I think DuPont breakups of ROE, ROIC, ROC is something which is very, very interesting, because that gives you a hint about the different metrics of the business, basically.
Right. Yeah, what's moving it or whatever.
Right.
I guess, yeah, maybe I can scroll.
I think banks may that would be too like.
Yeah, for
ROE.
bank maybe it might not make too much sense, but I'm just saying that you can go to the ratios, and under ROE for any ratio you can click plus and see what's the underlying trend dominating it. In ROE you click plus and you can see net profit margin, asset turnover, and the multiplier, and basically do your DuPont over there. So yeah, I mean, like we move from discovery to research, and we just showcased a few companies, and I'll just tell you how we think about research. Research, I mean, everyone thinks the same way. You have companies sit inside a sector, and all these sectors sit inside India. I mean, it's this stack if you're looking at Indian companies. So when you're also doing research, I'm sure you guys do research on every layer of this stack. You first need to see how the pharma industry is doing also. You also need to see how the company is doing. Macro, we might not be looking at too much, but if something is really going wrong, or really going right, like exports are really shooting up or not, it might be a data point for you to consider. Okay, so I've just come to Sun Pharma. Of course, again, you can check all their DMF filings, how many NDAs they file, R&D, their domestic sales growth, and whatnot. But this is a company level. You might want the set one to go one level higher, which is the sector level. So you see at the end we have these sector pages. Over here it's a pharma sector page. Okay, you can click on it. I'll just show you another way you can reach sector pages. On the home screen, on the top right, go to sector.
Right.
You can see we have all these sector pages: banking, aviation, automobile, whatnot.
Maybe start banking.
Yeah, maybe I'll start with banking. Or since I was in Sun Pharma, I'm saying supposing you research Sun Pharma and then you wanted to figure out what's happening in the pharmaceutical sector, you can go to this page.
Right.
Okay. This page has many parts. First is you can see, of course, the indexes. You can see the pharma indexes has, of course, done well, but the small cap index or the diagnostic chain, or like, for example, in the last 1 year, the small cap pharma companies have done better, but over a long period of time, maybe they've done more or less the same. At least that's what I can see here. Yeah.
Right.
So we can see, I mean, maybe that's insightful to some people that over last 4 years, small cap pharma and large cap have done more or less the same. It's the last 1 year where these guys have started jumping out. Okay. One really important aspect is the market share. So like you were saying, it's interesting to see trend lines of market share. Here you can see the trend lines of market share. You can see Sun Pharma's market share in the domestic market, how it's been trending over time.
Right.
And here you can add any competitor who you are tracking.
And this data is available since, like, what is the time frame?
So last 3 years.
Last 3 years, okay.
For this particular metric, it happens to be last 3 years, but it purely depends on how much we are able to get our hands on.
Yeah.
Right. In some cases, it goes back further. In some cases, it's very recent. So when we look at for these data sources, we look for from reliable bodies consistently coming on a quarterly or a month or basically
and something that we
manner.
can corroborate, like, okay, it was said then and it's the same now that it was said then.
Right,
you know?
right.
So again, you can just click on any category in the, in this case, we're in the pharmaceutical sector. So you can see each of the players and how they compare it to each other on the market share. Okay. Then maybe we can just check out another one.
Yeah, I mean, of course, you can check sector level metrics like how many ANDAs US FDA is approving, or, I don't know, pharma spend as percent of GDP or domestic growth. What's how the exports doing over last 10 years and stuff like that. Okay.
Right.
So of course, this was moving from a company one level higher to a sector level, and one of the sectors that we've covered is the pharma sector, for which we are getting systematically data every month.
So I'll just show you one last, which is the asset management. Please feel free to butt in if you have any questions.
No worries, I will.
Okay. So like for instance, in the AMC sector, we've got another area called broking accounts. So just as an example over here, we track all companies' market share in the broking space. Okay.
Right.
So here you'll notice that we've even covered unlisted players like Zerodha, Upstocks. So basically what we're trying to say is that if you are researching the market, sometimes it makes sense to look beyond just the listed companies as well.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you do not get the complete picture unless you track those as well. So wherever possible, like even in aviation sector, we can get our hands on Vistara's data and things like that. We've done that. In automobile sector, even if we get an unlisted automobile player, we've taken it down. We've added it to the sector screen so that we can give you sort of a well-rounded view.
I think from the perspective of a stock picker, it helps you differentiate between the companies who are taking market share and the companies who are losing market share.
Absolutely.
Because everything starts with your top line, and top line starts with the market share. I think
so. I mean, ICICI Securities is listed. You can see it's gone from 11.6 to 8.
Right.
It is consistently losing market share over the last 4-5 years. So it might be something that I think 5paisa also is listed. So you can see, okay, it's gaining market share. It's just another data point and an important data point for people to consider.
Right.
Then maybe we look at macro.
Yeah. So like I said, the company, we've gone from company to sector. Last thing that matters is India or country level. That's one layer up. So we have a macro screen, which you click on the top right again. So, I mean, our page is there's not much, hard for you to miss things. So on the top right, there's a macro button. You click on macro and you see macro indicators for India. Even these are updated real time. What's different is we aren't really focusing on, many people say, oh, macro, I don't care about fiscal deficit and all that. We aren't, that's not the macro we are talking about. Ours is more like what you would call granular macro. Like, okay, if you're interested in investing in fertilizer companies, you can see fertilizer production has been increasing month on month over the last many months, even through COVID. Or tractor sales, like both of us were always thinking of investing in tractor suppliers. You can see the tractor sales are booming even through COVID.
Right.
It's just another point for you to consider if you are thinking, like right now we are before the quarterly results, but you can see December, November, October tractor sales have really gone up.
So basically, मतलब जैसे market में theme आता है तो आजकल काफी बार news में लोग देख रहे हैं कि rural India is doing well. So this point of data actually helps you marry the narrative with the numbers. So,
Exactly. That's the
right.
main thing that we want to do. Like people just say this is doing well, this is not. Steel is doing well, fertilizer is not. We want to put a number to it so people have an objective reference to it. It's not opinion, then it's data. That okay,
Right.
tractors is doing well, and it is a verifiable data point that they have sold 41% more tractors this December compared to last December.
So the thing
Right.
is, we get a lot of these high frequency data points. So we have tried to
Yeah.
collate as much of those, even though they're sitting all over the place, to be able to give that picture.
Yeah, exactly. Like again, airline traffic, passenger cars, you can see it has gone up 25%.
Right.
One thing that people look at a lot is over here. You can see, like, again, results have not yet been announced, but October, November, December, pharma sales have always been up. So a lot of people, what they do is they click the plus here and see domestic focused companies like, say, maybe Alchem or I don't know, but maybe I think Ajanta and all are domestic focused, and their
Alchemy
sales have
also,
really gone up.
right.
Like over the last
JB
yeah,
Chemicals, right.
for the quarter still to be announced, their sales have gone up 20% domestically. So it is one data point for you to consider even before the results are announced or whatever.
Right, right, right.
Okay.
Okay.
Another question.
Right. Very interesting too. I think this one is very, very helpful again, because what I have done or used to do was, I used to pay a lot to these industry bodies and everything to get the data sources. But if I talk about pharmaceutical sector, though, I had this paid subscription to get the data source. But I think that isn't required anymore, because it just gives you an idea about which company is performing in the sector. And अगर जो अगर ट्रेंड भी देखते हैं लास्ट 5-6 क्वार्टर्स का, दैट which is clearly visible, so gives you an idea that some company is doing something right. So that becomes the first point of doing research for someone.
Yeah, like just to go on what you're saying, one thing both of us noticed, I mean, we didn't buy it, but JB Chemicals, it
Right.
just keeps growing.
JB
No
Chemical
matter what.
was just a backstory. So I used to own this stock at 350 rupees, and I sold off at 600-650 because the promoter family went away, and all of a sudden it went to 1000. But again, just shows you that the business has been very, very solid. They have had 3 or 4 brands which have been extremely good, and just shows in the data as well, right?
Right. Right. So this sort of sums up what we have live on the application right now. So for discovery, we've got the filter and the markets. For research, you've got all our company pages, sector pages, and macro pages. Okay. So maybe I can show you something which we are working on right now, which is our tracking. We spoke about it as our final phase, which is tracking, right? So I forgot to log in, but yeah. So this is a view of a portfolio. I don't have a complete portfolio anyway. So in any case, this is just one sample template. So soon, what
So this is not live. This is
not
still
live. Maybe it'll
work in
take us
progress.
another couple of weeks, and we've got a whole bunch of bugs to fix. But what this allows you to do is add your portfolio. You get your complete ledger here. If you click on the exposure tab, this is where we really focus on risk. So we try to show you, like for instance, you'll be able to compare which categories, which segments you're getting your revenue from. You click on any of the segments, you can go further and see further breakdowns. Similarly, on the geography side, we give you an understanding of exactly where you're getting revenue from. So 49% comes from India, and the rest comes from some European countries. You can go and see which companies, like Motherson gives you in Europe, maybe Germany is 3.8%. So we are able to do this because we know exactly every company and where they're getting their revenue from. So we push that up at a portfolio level.
Right.
Okay. So this will just be able to give you that, like suppose there's an issue with China and you're getting a significant percentage of your revenue from China, you should be aware, right?
Right.
And these are sometimes like you will know it at a company level, but no one understands it at a entire portfolio level. I mean, again, I did not have a proper sample portfolio ready for this, but this gives you some sort of correlation indicator between share prices. So you know that I may have zeroed down into 2 companies. I'm not able to decide 2 very similar companies, and you do 50-50 on both. What we try and show you over here is these 2 companies are so highly correlated historically that actually you're not diversifying. So we're trying to bring about those points here.
And
More-
over
Yeah.
here, do we also have that feature of weighted average return on capital employed of the entire portfolio?
Yeah,
Weighted
it's
average,
here.
okay, right,
So this is an XRR gain.
right, okay,
So I mean, we need to do better. But this gain that I'm showing you here
right.
is the XRR gain. Of course, it's weighted by the capital you've put.
I'm talking in terms के weightage average return on capital employed of all of the entire portfolio. I
Okay.
think that can be extremely helpful.
Understood. In the
Okay.
financial results, we can add that to show you the average of those. Yeah.
Okay,
Right,
you
right.
can. Okay. I got it. No, we can
Because
do that.
at the end, portfolio is nothing but one big company which is extremely diversified or which is extremely concentrated in some cases.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Exactly.
So I mean, we've only done that for one metric, which is the PE. So his PE is weighted at, I mean, average is 32, but yeah, we can do it theoretically for any metric.
Right. I
Right.
think this will kill the function. This will kill the usage of Excel at the end.
We're hoping. So, I mean, we've got a long way to go. This is
Right.
just the initial phase. Like in this case, we're just trying to compare your portfolio versus similar mutual funds, compare the Sharpe, compare the returns to let you know where you stand.
Because there's no reason for you to just invest in stocks, right? You need to see, okay, you might as well have just invested in a mutual fund.
So, I mean, we
Right.
just picked a mutual fund as a benchmark because that was we
Yeah.
can't say this is an ideal portfolio versus this, but we'll let you play around with that.
That whole
So-
thing of Nifty as a benchmark and all, we don't really, it's not a good benchmark.
So the
Right.
thing is, for us portfolio, we have a long way to go. So because the amount of data we collate, we know exactly every company's product exposure, geography exposure, raw material exposure. We know all the investor data. We know all the shareholding data. We know their raw materials and the prices of these raw materials, right? So soon we want to build like some alert engine where you can configure saying that, okay, fine, this parameters happen, notify me, right? Because this is the place where we want all the data we are sitting to become sort of meaningful for you.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, we've got a long way to go here, but I think the first version out will be out very soon in another couple of weeks time.
Okay. Interesting.
Go to the homepage. Yeah.
And the last thing that what we're up to and still upcoming is we of course done all this for India. We've indexed the S&P 500.
Before we go to that, so just asking a question. So, is there a way we can also find out all the conference call transcripts and all the annual reports from the
Sure.
research page itself?
Yeah, so I mean,
Yeah,
you
I think
can
we
go
missed
to.
that bit. Yeah.
We didn't talk about it. I mean,
Right,
we didn't
right.
want to keep it too long because. So you can go to this thing called so I've gone to a company page. You can click on knowledge base.
Right.
Here you can see annual reports, conference call, earning release, investor presentations historically for from 2010 in one place. Yeah.
So any company filing, see, essentially we extract our data from these company filings. So we've sort of logged it here so you have reference.
Right.
Alternatively, I mean, also over and above that, along the way, whenever people mail us saying that there is an interesting video about this company or sector, or there is a good blog out, a couple of your videos are also up here, is where we tag it to that company. So if anyone's researching, you should have all the relevant documents in one place and other good reference materials available as well.
Yeah, maybe if your students, some of them might not know too much about the pharma sector, they can check out 1 or 2 or 3 of these videos as apart from yours as well, you know.
Right.
It's just that.
Really interesting.
Right now we just started, but yeah, we are going to start. A lot of people write blogs and make videos and stuff. We want to share theirs here because it's very useful and it's all in different places.
Yeah, and sometimes what a video and a blog can contain will go way more granular than what we can ever show on our platform. So we are tracking consistently available data sources to give you that overview. We need to tie this with relevant blogs, videos focused about that sector. We do some level of curation to see that this is relevant here and it fits in. So we'll try building on these as well.
Right. It will be like Wikipedia for like stock pickers, though. I think.
Yeah. So
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Right.
So I was just going to wrap up saying that we showed you what we built, and then now
Right.
I just showed you what we're working on, which is portfolio tracking. Last thing, one more thing that we're working on is for US companies. So we've only indexed S&P 500 till now, but of course you can go to Apple and get info about them now on Tijori.
So one thing which I mentioned earlier is like, I mean, of course, the product breakup here. We've done this in the
Right.
US where you can click historic. So you can see quarter and quarter how iPhone is. I mean, in this case, it's yearly. So we've got this data, just a matter of us being able to put down time to work on this. But some view like this will be available in India as well. So every vertical, every market share, you'll be able to just click historic and see how it's been moving, increasing or decreasing. Okay.
And again, what would be the source of this data?
This in the US, it's all their 10Ks.
10K, 10K.
Okay, 10Ks, right? 10K, 10Ks.
These are company filings in the US.
So we've highlighted it.
Yeah, so we pulled it out from
Right,
their
right.
company filings. So what we noticed is we somehow enjoy scrubbing through this dirty information and making it structured. Whether it was for an Indian company or US company does not really make a difference because the data is there. In fact, we are seeing that the US data is so much more structured. We are just hoping that Indian companies will improve their standardization and slowly get up there. But of course, that won't happen unless regulation forces them. But data is beautiful over there.
Agreed with you. So, like once we read companies like Zoetis, Lonza, and all these companies, so there's so much data available that you're like, please stop.
Exactly.
You don't need more data, right? Over here, you have to find data yourself.
Exactly.
That is the thing.
Data is lost between some photos of something, sometimes even completely irrelevant to the company. If you look at a 10K, it's very boring, but so to the point, Everything that you need is just simply structured and it's there quarterly.
Agreed.
So of course, here also you have operation metrics. For Apple, it might be how many iPhones are sold quarter on quarter and how much they're making per iPhone is going up, and how many iPads, R&D. You can go here and compare it to how much do they spend on R&D compared to Alphabet or whoever else, and quite a bit is the difference. But there's a general idea. Basically, whatever we've done in India, it's same overall theme, but more granularity in the US.
Right. Really interesting. And is there any paid plans that Tijori Finance is coming up with?
So as of now, everything on our site is completely available, and we've been free for the last 1.5 years. And we've used this time to build features, get feedback, refine it. We are at that stage where we are going to be putting up a paywall soon, which means that only paid subscribers will continue to get access to our site. So soon means within the next 30-40 days. And our pricing will be around 7,000 to 8,000 a year to get access to all this data here. So we are maybe at the 50% mark of where we want to be. We want to build on portfolio more. Based on feedback, we want to tie up with more databases to give you more granular information as well. I mean, of course, our entire thing is to not overwhelm people. So it's going to be like some design sort of calls to make sure that if you like it, dig deeper, and you'll get more and more data. But that's our plan as of now.
Interesting, very interesting. So I think more or less most of the points are covered, and this is one tool which is becoming indispensable for the Indian investors to use, because getting so much of data at one place just helps you filter down ideas. Because the biggest challenge which I have faced as an investor is the lack of time, and moreover, if you're if you are spending time on one idea, so that idea should be worth the time basically. So I think very interesting tool for filtering down stocks.
So the thing is, there is no escape. If you are a serious investor, you have to spend your time looking at company filings, reading line by line and going through all the 10-year reports in detail. But what we let you do is, instead of wasting 3-4 days for you to realize that this company is not worth your time, you can track those key metrics over here and realize that, okay, fine, this looks interesting enough for me to really invest my time. Right. Once you do that, then you consistently on a quarterly basis, at least some key parameters are always tracked with us, and that we want to keep growing with. Most of the feedback we get with some of the professors we reach out to and all, they keep saying go deeper, get more granular. So that's still our motto, and we want to get there. So we've got a long way to go on that front.
I think most of the things I explained, and again, thank you for building this platform, I would say.
Thank you
Right,
so much. Thank you, Mohit.
right.
Okay. Sure.
Okay,
Okay. Thank you.
thank you.
Yeah. I'm just going to